build wealth, we need to retain businesses, we need to reward hard work. Then we'll be able to afford all of our social programs and have properly run social programs.
Well, good afternoon. I'm here with Cowichan Malahat Langford Conservative candidate Jeff Kibble for a very quick Q&A. Jeff, thank you very much for coming and
my pleasure. Happy
being
to
able to
questions. Let's wander down this way.
Sure.
And
So
fire away.
a week away before the actual official election on the 28th, and I wanted to get together with you just to find out, hey, what is the Conservative platform? What are you guys aiming to do this election? What are some of the key issues, specifically to the riding or nationally?
Sure, great question. Well, our full official platform is actually coming out tomorrow. But our overall riding goal, and what I tell everyone, is we're here to create positive change in our riding. My team and I have been out and talked to thousands and thousands of people across the riding, and the concerns that we're hearing are directly related to things that have also impacted our own family and are part of the reasons that I came out of retirement after serving in the Navy for 28 years. Issues like cost of living. People are struggling to feed their families, pay their rent, pay for their gas, and their paychecks are worth less because of all the massive spending and debt that we have is driving up inflation. So cost of living is a big one. And the other big one that we're hearing across the riding is crime. Increased crime. People are scared. Here in Langford, we've had multiple drug labs been shut down by the RCMP, and in Duncan, violent crime rates 157% above the national average, and people are scared. People are getting beat up. Hank Sandy Martin, Duncan.
Yeah, I just actually read that in the news.
He was beat so bad, he went into hospital, and the next day his sons are manning the store for him, family business, and the thugs that beat him up are walking past the store, out on bail. This has to change. This isn't right. So we're about positive change. Talking to a lot of former NDP voters. They work hard, pay their taxes, and they just don't have enough left to survive. And they're seeing that the Conservatives are supporting trades and unions, business and industry, getting that back and working, building wealth. And so we've seen the biggest unions in Canada, and there's a long list of them, are publicly endorsing the Conservatives.
I've seen some of that, yeah.
Lots of groups are publicly endorsing Conservatives, and it's great because they're feeling disenfranchised by the NDP. And the NDP is the incumbent member of Parliament here, and they're losing those votes. And they're seeing a common sense Conservative solution. So that's what they're reaching out for, and it's great because we are providing those positive solutions.
Poilievre is talking about a common sense platform. What are some of those things that you really see as some of the keys to that platform?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, today actually we did a press conference with Andrew Scheer, who was in town, and we were speaking about building houses, specifically here in the riding, and we're seeing that the permits and the development costs and fees and charges are just costing so much money for the developers, and they're passing that cost on, making houses more expensive. So our common sense solution is we're getting rid of the sales tax on new home builds up to $1.3 million. We're going to have incentives and initiatives for municipalities to reduce the fees and costs and the permit times. So, for example, the last quarter here in Victoria, the building starts dropped 30%, and in Nanaimo 50%. We're somewhere in the middle, so we're not seeing the housing starts that we used to. And so we'll incentivize that for municipalities to reduce that so we can get more houses built. That's our problem.
Do you see that kind of being like a more counter approach to what the Liberals are suggesting by injecting billions of dollars of deficit spending in order to build more homes? And where's the Conservative platform in comparison to either the NDP platform or the Liberal platform, which really seems to be, let's double down on debt spending and deficit spending?
Well, good question. And for the NDP specifically, here, they can promise what they want. They know they're not going to be leading a government, and they may be able to prop up a government if things go that way, which I don't think. But they've done that for the last 10 years. It didn't work. As far as deficit spending, that's the reason our houses are costing so much. Houses, are more than doubled in the last 10 years. And that's directly a symptom of printing too much money. So that is not the solution. We've proven for the last 10 years that that's not the solution. The Liberals are proposing a government-funded corporation to build houses. That doesn't work. It didn't work for the infrastructure bank, didn't work for gun control, didn't work for anything. We don't want the government to build houses. We want our trades and our union workers to build houses. They're the guys that know how to do it. If we unhandcuff them, reduce the costs, reduce the taxes, and that will free up the experts in building houses. The government should not be in the business of building houses and then owning houses, so that the people that are going to be renting these supposed houses, modular homes that they want to build, they'll be beholden to the government. And they won't, the dream of home ownership will go away. That's not what we want. And right now we want just for people now to be able to afford homes, but also the next generation. That's what this election is about. It's about positive change for the next election.
I've read some interesting statistics on generational support where youth are really coming to the Conservative platform because they see the Canadian dream as being lost. The idea that you would have no ability to own a home because of massive monetary stimulus that has devalued the price of a dollar and the exchange value of that dollar into assets. Where do you see the support in this local riding, the Cowichan Malahat Langford riding? Where do you see most of your support coming from?
Well, we have obviously solid support from our Conservative base here, and we've been out and identifying that by knocking on doors. But I really am getting, and our team is getting, as I said, NDP voters that have been traditional NDP, they pay their taxes, they work hard, and they're just not understanding why they can't afford things. So they're switching to support Conservative. We're seeing that all around. And, I guess the best way to look at it is that the NDP right now is not the traditional NDP that their parents voted for and that they voted for generations, as you said.
I would probably also argue that the Liberal Party has drifted. Even if you look at the Cowichan Malahat leadership 25 years ago, that Liberal Party is no longer in existence. The NDP of, let's go back, Tommy Douglas or Thomas Mulcair or all those leaders seems to be disappeared.
The traditional NDP and Liberal values are gone.
Yeah.
Right? They've gone very socialist. And if that's what you believe in and that's important to you, then vote for that. But most Canadians aren't like that. Most Canadians want powerful paychecks. Most Canadians want to own their own homes. And more importantly, they want the next generation to be able to afford homes. And the path that we're on, the incredible amount of printing money, doubling our national debt in 10 years, we're not on a path for that. So we need a course correction. And I think that the socialist agenda that we've had, that socialist leaning government, we've proven that doesn't work. And Canada's ready for a change to go in a positive direction and rebuild that Canadian dream.
So the Liberal costing platform, of course, we're going to get the Conservative one tomorrow, so we'll take a look at that. But the Liberal costing platform has been now confirmed that it was in place before Carney was ever positioned as the Prime Minister, which means under Trudeau or under the Gerald Butts PMO milieu that costing platform was developed. Do you see any where is the sense and sensibility of continuing to spend through the dollars? Is Pierre and the Poilievre government, the Conservative platform, will we get a sense of where the deficit spending, the rules around that, the parameters around that are going to be under the Conservative platform?
We have to wait and see when the platform comes out.
Okay,
where
so
that's going to
we'll
be. It's
see.
not a very good answer. But we've seen that is not the solution. The printing of the money. What we really need to do is build wealth, not redistribute it, and that's what we've been doing. We've been collecting wealth from people across the country through taxes and then throwing it into social programs and hoping that some good comes out of it. And a lot of those programs are just poorly run. I've traveled to countries around the world, ones with the best social programs, the best environmental laws, the best healthcare, the ones with the strongest economies. And how are we going to do our economy? We're going to unleash our trades to build and generate wealth, and we're going to responsibly use our natural resources and exploit those to build wealth. And without doing that, we can move money around all we want and we can print more money. But as we've seen, it causes investment to leave our country. I mean, even Brookfield left our country under the chairmanship of Mr. Carney. So we're driving investment out of Canada and just getting poorer and poorer. We need to build wealth. We need to retain businesses. We need to reward hard work. Then we'll be able to afford all of our social programs and have properly run social programs. We need that. We value that as Canadians, but we have to be able to fund it.
I love what Margaret Thatcher said. is that the problem with socialism is that you tend to run out of other people's money eventually.
Fair enough. We're at that point now.
We are at that
And
point.
unfortunately, it's not other people's money, it's our money, it's our country's money.
And it's leaving.
And we're just
it's
making
leaving
more.
Canada
Yeah.
because the people that I'm talking to are saying, hey, depending on what the vote happens on 28th, we're out. We're gone.
And even before the vote, we're seeing companies and business and industry leaving Canada, and this is dangerous. We need to bring it back. We need to build wealth and attract investment. That's our solution. So just printing more money as we've done in the last 10 years isn't going to do it. And I know that the Carneys, as you said, they recycled what was produced under the Trudeau Liberals. And as Andrew Scheer was joking today, they just did a find and replace on the computer and replaced Trudeau with Carney. And in fact, between Trudeau's spending that's been previously announced coming up and Carney's new spending, we're approaching $250 billion of debt that we're going to add and just make things worse. So if you want change, you know where to vote. If you want things the same, you want to print more money and drive housing prices up even more and constrain building of houses, and I'm harping on that today, I guess, because we did a whole event this morning about houses. But that's just one sign of a failing economy. And if we want more of the same, then vote for Liberals. But we want positive change, and I think the people in our riding want positive change as well.
One more final question that
Sure.
I'd like to address, and that is, there's a lot of noise in the news and social media about the Conservatives being just like Trump. And I would love to hear your thoughts on what makes Poilievre not Trump.
Well, completely different person, completely different policies, completely different country. Look, we can't control what goes on outside of our borders, right? Whether it's the US or other countries. But if we have a strong economy, a strong, unified, proud country, and then we can negotiate with whoever it is around the world. We can deal with whoever it is around the world from a position of strength. And the Liberals have only weakened our country over the years and left us in a poor place. So there's the very reason that Trump has said he wants Carney to be our next prime minister. Somebody he can control and push around. Yeah. We don't want that. We want someone who's going to be tough and fight for Canada. I fought for our freedoms and our international reputation and our sovereignty in my 28 years of service in the Navy. And I know that Conservatives and our leader will continue to fight for Canadian sovereignty and international reputation and freedoms.
That's awesome. Here's the reality, guys, is you should be going to the Conservative, Liberal, NDP, Green Party platforms. Don't waste your time with the legacy media. You should be going directly asking questions of the candidates.
I'll give you a good example.
Okay, go ahead.
And so there's a legacy media, and they're funded by government now.
Sure,
so,
yeah.
There's some bias there, right? And we've seen some are better than others. Go on the internet, you can get every opinion, good, bad, and ugly from every side. Some vile, some horrible. There's a broad range. Okay, so there's all those opinions. But if you want to make a decision, this is what I tell people to do. Don't listen to my opinion or your opinion. Make your own opinion. Look at your paycheck or your pension. Look at your gas bill, your grocery bill, and your taxes, and say, has it gotten better over 10 years? Are you getting value for your money? Is this a sign of a good economy? And if you want change, and that's not working for you, make your own opinion. Do I want change, or do I want things to keep going on the path that we're going on? That's your own opinion. So you can hear all that noise on the internet, all that noise on the media. You can read the platforms, but ask yourself, make your own opinion. Are you happy with the direction that the country's been going in 10 years, or do you want change? Carney does not represent change. As you said, their new platform and budget is recycled.
We won't even get into the economic advisory platform of the last 5 years.
So. There you go. I mean, that ties right in. So, there's all that noise, and you can, get all different kinds of opinions online and stuff, but make your own opinion based on what you're seeing in the world around you, and are you happy in the last 10 years or you're not? I know I'm not. That's why I came out of retirement, to represent the people in our riding and to affect positive change in our riding. And I've been reaching out to local businesses, local industries, such as the recreational fishing and commercial fishing, and the milk producers and the farmers and the auto dealers and small business and community groups, social groups, religious groups, all of them. And they're looking for change. That's the message that I'm hearing. So I'm ready to represent our riding. I'm ready to go to work and fight for our riding, and I'm ready to bring positive change.
Awesome. Jeff Kibble, Conservative candidate for Cowichan Malahat Langford. Thank you very much again for your time, Jeff.
I appreciate it. Anytime.
Cheers.
Yeah.